Celtics today. Confirmed signing, plus strong trade rumor. Quick summary. Speak up, Celtics Nation. If you opened YouTube today and saw a lot of "it's official," it's going to change. Come on, so-and-so. I know exactly the feeling. Confusion, anxiety, and fear of losing the news before everyone else. So leave it to me. Today there is a confirmed signing and also a very strong trade rumor circulating. And the problem is that a lot of people are spreading chopped information without context, and this only increases the doubt. In the next few minutes, I will give you a quick and clear summary. What is 100% confirmed, what is rumor-based, where it came from, and mainly what this really changes for the Celtics squad and game. Let's get straight to the point. Before I show you the confirmed signing and break down the trade rumor, do the following quickly. If you want to stay up to date with Celtics news and not fall prey to holiday rumors, subscribe to the channel now. It's literally one click away, and you won't miss anything important. And leave a like, because it shows me that you want more videos like this and makes this summary reach more fans. Oh, and activate the bell to receive an update immediately, because when the NBA changes, whoever arrives first understands first. Combined? So comment below, "Let's go Celtics," so I know you're with me. And now let's go, because what came out today could change the course of the season. If you follow the Celtics Talk Show, I want you to do an exercise with me for a few seconds. Take a deep breath and think about the feeling you get when the Boston Celtics finally start to really look like a team ready to go far. And suddenly, news appears that changes the mood of the entire championship. This is exactly the kind of moment we are living in, because the Celtics had been building something very consistent. It's not just a good sequence here and there. It's that phase in which you turn on the game and feel that the team enters the court with a clear idea. Defend seriously, control the pace, and win the right way. When the team fits together like this, it seems like the season gains momentum. And for us fans, an expectation is born that is not fantasy. It is based on what we are seeing. But the NBA has an unforgiving characteristic. When you start to see the path, someone moves the board. And that's where today's topic comes in. Behind the scenes, what was a distant conversation began to take shape. Rumors stop being noise when large sources repeat the same story, when several teams appear linked to the same name, and when the market starts to move with a logic that makes sense. And in this scenario, the name that is hanging over the Eastern Conference is heavy. It's the kind of name that, just by entering the conversation, changes the way coaches plan a playoff series. Anthony Davis. I know what you're thinking, because I think the same thing. How could this impact the Celtics? And I will answer you calmly, because this is the type of topic that needs context, needs reasoning, and needs an honest look. It's not just excitement, it's not just fear, it's understanding what's at stake. The story circulating is simple, but the effect is huge. There is the possibility of a move involving Anthony Davis that could put him in the East. And when a player of that size enters the East, you're not just talking about a reinforcement for any team. You're talking about a change of scenery, route change, difficulty change. And here's the most important point. The Celtics don't lose a trade like this directly, because it's not our team doing the trading, but the Celtics could end up paying the bill for what another team does down the road in April, May, and June, when every possession is worth like gold. Now I want you to think with me about the following. Why is this so worrying? Because when Davis is healthy, he is one of the most dominant players in the league when it comes to defensive impact. It changes the game in a way that appears on the screen even without you looking at the statistics. He protects the rim, he covers spaces, he recovers balls that seemed lost, he makes infiltration more risky, and in the playoffs, where the game becomes more physical and more mental, having a player like that changes the identity of a team. And then come the names that appear linked to this story. Raptors, Hawks, and Pistons. 3 franchises with different contexts, but with one thing in common. They would all have a lot to gain if they managed to place an elite defensive anchor at the center of the system. Let's look at this calmly. If you take the Raptors, they are a team that historically likes to defend strongly, to cause problems, to turn the game into discomfort for the opponent. Davis, in this type of idea, would be a natural fit, not only because of what he blocks, but because of what he avoids before the shot even happens. A team like this with more rim protection could become a wall, and when a series turns into a half-court war, that's exactly what makes life difficult for any contender. In the case of the Hawks, the conversation changes a little. Atlanta has talent, it has creation, it has interesting pieces, but there has always been a question about defensive consistency. A player like Davis, at his best, offers something that is very rare. He doesn't just improve the defense, he organizes the defense. He gives direction. It allows the perimeter to be aggressive because there is a reliable second line. This changes the team's level of competitiveness in a few months. And when the Pistons appear in this conversation, many people react with surprise. But the NBA is full of movements that start like this. It doesn't seem like it until it happens. And if a young and ambitious team places a piece of this size at the center of the project, it changes levels quickly. And the question that matters to us, Celtics fans, is, do we want to face a team that made this leap right in our path? Obviously not. But the NBA is not a fairy tale. It's not just you added Davis and that's it. It was perfect. There is another side to this coin, and it is a big one. Anthony Davis is an extraordinary player, but it carries an availability history that is always included in the account. I'm not saying this to diminish the athlete. On the contrary, it is precisely because he is good that this detail matters. When a player has such a high ceiling, the first question becomes, will he be on the court when it matters most? Because in the regular season, you can survive with absences. In the playoffs, an absence changes everything. So for any team considering this type of move, there is a clear bet, and it's a double bet. Betting that he will be healthy and betting that the team's structure will support the cost of the trade. And then comes a factor that almost no one likes to face, but is inevitable: contract and casting. To look for a player of this size, the team does not deliver leftovers. Typically, it delivers depth, choices, flexibility, useful pieces. In other words, there is a scenario in which the team puts Davis on, but loses so much around him that it becomes an unbalanced project. And there is another scenario in which the team makes the trade, keeps important pieces, and becomes a monster. It is this uncertainty that makes the story so uncomfortable for those on this side rooting for the Celtics. Because for us, the result of either version is uncomfortable. If the trade works out and Davis arrives healthy, the East will become tougher, more physical, more difficult to cross. If the exchange goes wrong and the team loses assets, that's okay. That rival may have gotten into trouble. But the simple possibility of this working out already changes the environment. It already changes how contenders behave. It is already putting pressure on the market. It already speeds up decisions. And this can force other chain movements. The NBA works a lot like this. A trade is not just a trade. She is a sign. It's a warning to the rest of the league. And that's why, when these types of rumors grow, Celtics fans can't just ignore it. Now let me bring this conversation to Boston. The Celtics today have something that is rarer than it seems. They have a core that knows how to win, they have talent at the top, and they have a collective identity that appears in the most difficult moments. And here I want to speak as someone who follows closely. When you realize that a team knows what to do when the game gets tough, you start to believe that the ceiling is higher, and the Celtics have been showing that. Jayson Tatum's leadership is a central part of this story. It's not just about scoring. It's because of the growth in reading, the maturity to understand what the game requires, the ability to be dominant without having to force the show all the time. And when you combine this with a serious defense, with tactical discipline, and with players that know how to fulfill their role, you create a team that doesn't depend on miracles. The problem is that the playoffs are not just about being good. They're about being good against a string of different problems, and an East rival with Anthony Davis represents just that, a problem of another kind, a problem that changes the map of the series. Because you need to think differently to attack, you need to think differently to defend, you need to think differently to manage fouls, rotations, spacing. You even change the way you choose who stays on the court in the decisive minutes. And when we talk about the road to the finals, it's not drama. It's reality. Every contender has a path, and this path is made up of specific obstacles. Some are matchups, some are calendar, some are fatigue, some are injuries. When an obstacle the size of Davis enters the same side of the bracket, you are, objectively, looking at a more complex scenario. From here, the question becomes inevitable. Do the Celtics need to react? And here I'm going to be very honest with you, as if we were talking after a game. Reacting doesn't mean necessary make a desperate exchange. Reacting can mean coldly evaluating what already exists, understanding which parts of the squad are really solid in the playoffs, and deciding whether the team needs a specific piece to expand its options in a tough series. Because the Celtics, when they are at their best, don't depend on a single plan. He needs to have alternatives. There needs to be variations. You need to have answers. And these kinds of rumors, even if they don't come to fruition, serve as a reminder. The entire league is trying to get better at the same time. And to stand still is sometimes to lose ground. But there is a trap here. The Celtics also cannot destroy what they are building out of fear. Champion teams often win because they maintain identity, maintain trust, maintain continuity. So the answer has to be intelligent. It is to reinforce without losing soul. It's about adjusting without dismantling. It's about improving without betraying your own style. And I want you to notice how fascinating and also cruel this is for fans. When the team finally seems ready, the entire league reacts. And that's when the season becomes history. Now, I want to ask you a direct question, and I want you to give a real answer, because this helps the channel a lot and helps us understand the fans' perception. If Anthony Davis actually went to an Eastern team, would you see this as a real threat to the Celtics title? Or do you believe our team's structure is strong enough to get through any scenario? I see both sides. I understand those who say this changes everything, because it really changes the level of arrival if it works. And I also understand those who say the Celtics are the Celtics, because when the team plays with conviction and health, it can beat anyone. But the beauty of the debate is there, recognizing the size of the challenge without diminishing the strength of what we have. And there's another detail that I can't let go. When a story like this appears, many people go into panic mode or contempt mode, one extreme or the other. My invitation to you is, let's stay in the middle. Let's be fans, but let's be lucid. Yes, a healthy Anthony Davis is scary. Yes, he can transform a defense. Yes, it can change a series. But it's also true that large exchanges tend to charge a high price. And it's also true that the NBA is full of rumors that grow, scare, and then dissolve. And it's also true that the season is long, and often, the team that seems unbeatable in December is not the team that arrives in one piece in May. So, what do we do with that today here on the Celtics Talk Show? We do what we always do: monitor, analyze, separate noise from signal, and try to understand the real impact. And to close, I want to leave you with a thought. The Celtics are building something that doesn't happen by chance. A team that grows, that learns, that improves, that finds identity is not an accident. And when the outside world starts moving to try to reach that level, that's also a silent compliment. It's the league recognizing that Boston is on top of the game. If this Anthony Davis rumor becomes reality, the road could get tougher, more physics, heavier, more tense, but it can also become more significant, because the title is not just about getting there. A title is going through what comes your way and proving, on the toughest stage, that what you built is strong enough. Now I want to hear you. Write in the comments, calmly and sincerely. Does Davis in the East really worry you? Which team would this be more dangerous for the Celtics? Raptors, Hawks, or Pistons? And if you think Boston should make a move, tell me, what kind of piece would you look for to strengthen the squad without changing the essence of the team? If you like this type of analysis, stay with me until the end of the video, because in a little while I'll delve deeper into the scenarios, talk about what changes in the matchups and why this story, even though it's a rumor, is already making the NBA look differently at the Eastern Conference. Welcome to the Celtics Talk Show. Let's talk about basketball the right way, and this is where we reach the point where the season stops being just a good phase and becomes a real test. Because if this rumor about Anthony Davis gains strength and becomes reality, the message is direct. The East will toughen up. The path will become more physical, more strategic, more cruel. And it's exactly in these moments that we discover who is ready to lift a trophy and who was just surfing a good streak. The The Celtics are building something big, and when the board starts shaking, it's not time to back down. It's time to face it head on. If the league wants to turn the East into a war, then bring it on. Because Boston isn't here to participate. Boston is here to dominate. Now I want to hear from you. Does Anthony Davis in the East change the game? Which team does this become the biggest nightmare for the Celtics? Raptors, Hawks, or Pistons? Write in the comments and let's discuss as a real fan, with arguments, with vision, and with passion. And pay attention. If you want to understand the Celtics on a deeper level, adjustments, matchups, reading the game, what works, and what needs to evolve, I left a complete sequence ready for you. Go to the pinned comment and click on the Celtics Analysis playlist. That's where you'll see the most complete analysis of the channel, and that's where you'll follow this season the right way, without noise and without misinformation. Sign up, leave a like, activate the bell. And remember, we don't watch history, we live history. See you in the next video.